Some market news for you now. Global stocks doing rather nicely. It started with the US last night, registering a third or fourth consecutive day of gains, and Asian markets also doing quite well. But having said that, there is a Lunar New Year holiday there, and so we saw a number of the bourses there shut, including China, but Hong Kong doing quite well as well. And then here locally, we see that the all-share index is trading in positive territory. We saw mining counters and financials up over 3% at one point in the session. So everything is firing on all cylinders at the moment. And of course, the local South African rand doing quite nicely. Thank you very much. Hovering around 11.66 against the US dollar and hovering around 16.40 against the British pound, doing quite nicely. And this is on the back of the resignation of President Jacob Zuma last night. Let's take a look at the indicators. And now I'm joined by Maudile Nswane. He's from Lahuma Capital. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Good stuff. A real roller coaster day yesterday, wasn't it? You know, would he resign? Would he not? And then now we see a very good reaction on the rand. It hit 11.66 as he made his announcement of the resignation, went back up to about 11.72. Now it's back firmer at 11.66. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, everybody was waiting for this moment to arrive. And I think to a larger degree, the resignation by Jacob Zuma was priced into the market. There was still some reaction, given the fact that it came through very late in the evening. And I think at that time you had the big, markets closed. The European session was closed. The JSE was also closed. So we are seeing some of the reactions that are coming through, of course, on the back of the good news that we've received. And I think you will agree that South Africans have been waiting with bated breath to hear the announcement and the resignation of Jacob Zuma. We actually traded below 11.60 at some stage during the morning session. Now I see we've got some weaknesses. Perhaps the realization that the man is gone, but we've still got the challenges as the economy that we have to deal with. But definitely a very good start.
Well, you make a very valid point there about the challenges that we have. We'll come to those in a minute. I just wanted to talk about the all-share index.
Yes.
Seems as though we're really firing on all cylinders with the all-share index. I know if we get into positive territory, maybe up 1% or so, but the market was well up over 2%. Is that partly because of the resignation last night, or it's other factors? Yeah,
3.5% at some stage. You've got NASPA's, the banking sector, all firing in all cylinders. I wouldn't necessarily say 100% to do with the events that unfolded yesterday, but definitely they have boosted sentiment. I think the positive sentiment that we are also seeing, it's got to do with the fact that across the globe we are seeing a positive sentiment. We saw the US market, in fact, yesterday finish in the green, even though they started the session negative. So they made a very good comeback, finished in the positive. Europe was also positive. Asia was also, some of the Asian markets were also positive this morning, even though some of them are closed. But we are seeing in general a very positive sentiment. But of course, the cherry on top is that final, those developments that unfolded yesterday.
Now, as you mentioned, we do have fundamental issues with our economy. There's a lot that needs to be fixed. Once the honeymoon is over and Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa is installed as president, what work does the ANC government need to do in order to get us on track and keep this momentum up? What are the low-hanging fruits, do you think? Yeah,
look, the challenges are quite big. And I mean, just to give you, we've got the economy that's not growing. We're growing under 1% with the population growth of around 2%. So that tells you that even if you were growing at 3%, that wouldn't be sufficient to be able to address some of the challenges that we have. Higher unemployment rates, unemployment almost close to about 27, almost close to 30%, 26%, 27%, whatever the figure is. So those are the big challenges. We're not creating jobs. The economy is not growing. So the immediate challenges is for the new leadership to come in and address those issues. They are definitely they've started very well. One of the biggest challenges that led to South Africa not growing is the corruption that has been in the system. We do see that there are some steps being taken, that those institutions that are supposed to deal with this corruption are beginning to work. We saw the arrest that we saw yesterday, and there's probably, I'm sure, more to come. So the first thing is to tackle those immediate issues that needs to be taken care of, and of course begin to come up with ways to grow the economy going forward.
How will Mr. Gigaba strike the balance between raising taxes and not hurting economic growth?
Look, he's got a very tough balancing act. The fact of the matter is there's just not enough revenue at this stage. The only positive is that we've got the investor sentiments that has changed, and probably we're likely not to see the downgrade. So that's already some sort of a positive, that there's no further pressure that could be exerted. But of course, he needs to find somewhere to find money to fund the free education. So I think we're likely to see the increase in taxes, and that unfortunately would be negative for the economy. But of course, as long as we can grow the economy, we will be able to, of course, to cover for that burden that has been placed, that will be placed by the increase in taxes. So I don't think he can get away with not raising taxes.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time and your insights as always. We now have the ingredient of confidence back in our economy. And when people are confident, businesses invest more, they create jobs, and hopefully people go out and spend more money and the economy grows. Let's hope that this hope actually comes to be realized. After a short break, Nzinga has more business news for you.